All right, let's talk about something that hits pretty much every organization right in the wallet, your IT infrastructure. We spend so much on this technology, so the big question is, how do we make it last? How do we get the most bang for our buck?
And you've got to wonder, right? Why does this incredibly powerful, super expensive technology seem to have such a short shelf life? It feels like we're just stuck in this endless cycle of buying, replacing, and wasting money. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way?
To really get a handle on this, we need to understand the typical journey of any piece of hardware. It's a pretty simple path. You've got the purchase and setup, then the long, hopefully productive, operational phase, and then eventually it starts to decline. Our whole goal here is to stretch out that middle phase, the operational one, for as long as we possibly can.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about this idea of a tech expiration date. And here's the thing you need to know. It's not just about how old a device is. There are a bunch of other key factors that are actively wearing your tech down every single day.
So, what are these culprits? Well, first, you've got heavy usage. I mean, it makes sense, right? A server that's constantly pushed to its absolute limit is just going to wear out faster. Then there's the environment it lives in. Heat and dust, they are silent killers for electronics. Of course, the quality of the hardware itself matters a ton, but one of the biggest factors, and one we often forget, is digital. Outdated software and firmware can absolutely cripple a perfectly healthy machine from the inside.
The good news is we can fight back, and it all starts with what I call the foundational fixes. These are the simple, physical things you can do that create the bedrock for a much longer hardware life.
This really just comes down to good old preventative maintenance, which boils down to 3 essential steps. First, you've got to do regular inspections, just physically looking for any signs of wear and tear. Second, thorough cleaning, and we'll talk more about why that's so important in a sec. And finally, thermal management. That's just a fancy way of saying you got to make sure everything stays cool.
Let's just zero in on dust for a moment. It seems so minor, doesn't it? But for electronics, it is an absolute killer. Dust basically forms this tiny, insulating blanket over all the components, trapping heat and stopping cooling fans from doing their job. This just skyrockets the risk of overheating and failure. So, you see, regular cleaning isn't just about being tidy, it's a core strategy for performance.
And this right here, this says it all. On one side, you have the dream scenario, a controlled environment with stable temps, low humidity, and clean air. That's where tech loves to be. On the other side, you've got a harsh environment. The difference in how long your hardware will last between these two scenarios is just massive. Getting the environment right is a huge, often overlooked win.
Okay, so we've handled the physical stuff. Now let's pivot and get a little more sophisticated. We're moving on to smarter systems, where we're going to look at how software and smart monitoring can breathe new life into your hardware. First, we need to wrap our heads around a really key concept, the performance bottleneck. The best way to think of it is like a huge traffic jam happening inside your computer. It's that one component or process, maybe it's slow memory, maybe it's the disk, that's holding up the entire system. And these bottlenecks don't just slow things down. They cause other parts to work overtime, leading to premature wear and tear.
So, how do we clear out those digital traffic jams? Well, regular updates are one of the most powerful tools you have. It's so easy to just think of them as ways to get new features, but they do so much more. They patch up critical security holes. They often give you real boosts in performance and speed. And, this is a big one, they make sure your older hardware can still play nice with all the new software out there. Beyond just updating, you can get proactive. I mean, instead of just waiting around for something to break, you can actively watch your systems. Track those key metrics like CPU and memory usage. Set up alerts that tell you when something's wrong, and then analyze those trends over time. It's like giving your infrastructure a regular health checkup, letting you spot trouble and fix it before it becomes a catastrophe.
All right, so we've covered the physical and the digital. Now let's zoom way out and look at the highest level of strategy. This is the big picture overhaul. These are the kinds of transformative ideas that can completely change the game.
And one of the biggest game changers is virtualization. Now, it might sound complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. You're basically running multiple virtual computers on just one physical server. Imagine giving one super powerful machine a bunch of different personalities, so we can do the job of 10 different, weaker machines all at once.
The efficiency gains are just incredible.
And what virtualization lets you do is this thing called workload consolidation. So instead of having one server for your email, another for your database, another for your website, you get the picture. Virtualization lets you run all of those on a single powerful machine. The savings on space, on energy, on cooling, on maintenance is just fantastic.
Another huge strategy is the hybrid cloud. And as you can see, it really offers the best of both worlds. You get the awesome scalability of the public cloud for when you have those big spikes in demand, but you also get the control of keeping your most sensitive data safe on your own private servers. And the result? You can see it in that third bar, major cost efficiency, because you're only paying for the extra resources exactly when you need them.
So for our final section, I want us to do something important. I want us to completely rethink the idea of the end. It's time to challenge this whole concept of end of life when it comes to our technology.
Look, just because a piece of hardware can't handle its main job anymore doesn't mean it's junk. It can have a whole second life. The first thing to check is, can it be refurbished? Repaired or upgraded and then reused. If not, can it be repurposed? Maybe that old server can become a test machine for your dev team. And if all else fails, you can donate it or resell it, giving it a new home and keeping it out of a landfill.
Ultimately, it all comes back to this one core idea. A combination of preventive measures, performance optimization, and lifecycle management strategies can achieve significant cost savings. See, it's not about finding one single magic trick. It's about having a smart, multi-layered strategy.
So I'll leave you with this one thought. The next time you're looking at a piece of so-called old tech, ask yourself, is this thing really finished, or is it just waiting for a new purpose? Answering that question could save you a fortune and completely change how you think about technology. Thanks for tuning in.